Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How's everyone doing? Nice, awesome. Okay, my name is Veerapen. Thank you for the introduction. I am a music producer, and I've been doing this for, well, about 15 years now, give or take. I've been very fortunate to have been involved with a lot of big and notable projects, some of which you may have heard. I worked a lot with YouTubers, artists, celebrities. I've done music for films, and of course, like the introduction just now, I was with one of the music directors for the SEA Games opening ceremony. With all of that, I want to share with you today my perspective on the future of the music industry. And I want to start with a statement that maybe some of y'all may have heard before, either maybe you read it online or your friends told you, right? And it goes something like this: the music industry is dying. Now, funny story, when I was younger, actually, my dad being quite a prominent figure in the industry as well, he pulled me aside and he told me something very similar as well. He was like, just when I was starting, he was like, son, just want to let you know that the music industry is dying, so don't get your hopes up. It's like, wow, great encouragement then, thanks. Now I know he was just joking, and he'll probably be the last person to ever tell you anything like that. But what's even funnier is that when he was younger, he was told the exact same thing. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the music industry. A constant state of perpetual death, where every generation will tell you that it is dying. But what does that even mean anyway? And come to think of it, actually, what is this music industry, right? Because music is kind of like in every single facet of our lives, isn't it? It's from the moment we wake up, when we're in the car, when we go to work, when we're studying, when we're relaxing. Or yeah, even like, okay, when like, how many of y'all remember after school, when the uncle and the ice cream truck drives by, right? You guys see all those jingles? All those what? Those pedal pop or mat poo, right? That's still some sort of music. It's a jingle. Plus, it had to be recorded, composed, produced, mixed and mastered in some studio. Multiple people of multiple skill sets had to come together to put together those pieces of audio that we hear. Plus, since the beginning of time till now, the demand of new music has only grown more and more in conjunction with our diminishing attention span and our lust for new and fresher content. So how is it that this music industry is quote-unquote dying? Well, in order for us to understand this, I think it's first important to understand what's this music industry anyway, right? Because if you ask anybody, your friends or anything, what they think of the music industry, first things people always talk about: celebrities, artists, singers, musicians, right? Does anybody know what a producer does? Anyone? Okay. Yeah, well, that's a good thing, because a lot of times, right, everyone would assume when you talk about a producer, they get the image of some sort of DJ, right? A boy or girl sitting at home with a laptop open, fiddling around with the keys, and then through some computer black magic wizardry, music is made, just like that. Okay, but I want to say, a DJ and a producer are two very separate things, okay? Don't get them confused. They can be the same person, but they require different skill sets. A producer is someone who's in charge of making music. But actually, come to think of it, back in the day, a lot of producers didn't even know how to make music, right? You know what? Why don't I just give us an example of how things were done back in the day, right? Okay. How many of y'all here can remember the 90s? Put your hands up. Okay, I think the better question here is to ask, right, how many of y'all here is actually born in the 90s? Oh gosh. I'm really giving up my age at this stage. But anyway. Okay, I'll bring you an example of how things were done back in the day, okay? We're going back to the 90s. What many would consider the end of the golden age of music, okay? We have a talented, no-name, nobody singing and busking on the side of the street, all right? He's pretty good. One day, a talent scout spots him. He kind of likes his style, offers him to come and sign with him. He puts out a little bit of money and puts together some musicians and a small studio, and together they record a little bit of a small demo. They then take the demo and then they send it to those big labels, and we're talking the Sonys, the Universals, the Warners. One of those labels bites, likes this guy, offers him a recording deal. Sounds familiar, right, the story? And then now, after that, a producer is hired. And the producer works with the studios, the recording engineers, the artists, the musicians, all together, coming together to finally make all that music. After all that, but before any music can be heard by the general audience, guys, remember, this is those days. What had to happen? It had to be printed into CDs or vinyls, if any of you all actually remember vinyls. But all while promotional material is being planned, along with maybe music videos, interviews, tours, all that is being planned to help boost the sales of these physical records. And only now, the general public has the ability to hear and purchase this music. Now that's a pretty long and tedious process, right? And that's only one example of how things were done back in the day. Do you know how things are done today for an independent artist? Well, same boy or girl with the headphones on and the laptop sitting in the dark room fiddling around, and then after he calls his friend to come over and sing, they finish it up, uploaded it to the internet, and boom, straight away it's in all your favorite streaming services. Sounds pretty good, right? Not having to go through what everyone had to go through back in the day. But my question is, what happens to the rest of the music industry? We're talking those producers, those recording engineers, those studios. What happens to them? Now, I just want to briefly state that I'm sort of overgeneralizing a lot of my examples here, because I do understand that a lot of people have their own creative process, but this only goes to show one of the reasons as to why the industry is so different today compared to last time. And that is because of technology. You see, technology has always been the driving force behind, well, actually any industry, not just the music industry, right? And the music industry is no exception. Today, I'm known as a producer, but back then I started out actually as a musician, yes. For the longest time, I was playing a lot of jazz piano, and I used to do a lot of gigs as well. And it's through those gigs with those musicians and artists that I think I really sort of formed my sound in today, especially in how I actually compose and produce music as well. One day, I went into my studio, and then I saw one of my employees. He had a software I didn't actually see before. I went up to him and asked him, "Hey bro, what software you got over there, man?" He's like, "Oh, this one allows me to sound just like you do." I don't know why I remembered him with such a strong Chinese accent. Because he was Indian, actually. But anyway, my heart sank, guys, because I took years and years to craft my sound, especially in the way I produce and write music. And here this kid is, no older than 20 years old, downloads the software off the internet, boom, sounds exactly just like me. But this is what's happening to a lot of musicians today, right? All around the world, especially in the studio. A lot of musicians are slowly getting replaced by all this software and tech. And it's not just musicians, guys, but sound engineers as well. Now, okay, for those of you who aren't really sure what a sound engineer really does, don't worry, I got you, I understand. It's kind of like a running gag amongst my friends back then, my friend being the sound engineer. One of his friends actually went up to him and asked him, like, "Hey bro, I heard you're a sound engineer, is that true?" My friend was like, "Yeah, I'm an engineer." It's like, "Hey, that's really cool, man. Can you help me fix my radio?" So I understand a lot of y'all don't know what a sound engineer is. If I can briefly explain, an engineer is basically someone who is responsible for giving you the best audio quality recording possible, right? They tend to work a lot with expensive machinery, and the really good ones are why studio recordings cost so much. Now, surely you must be thinking, okay, works a lot with expensive machinery, pretty hands-on. Surely that can't be automated by software. Well, we would be wrong. Because as computers get more and more advanced, we have swapped our multi-million-dollar studios and equipment for softwares that pretty much cost us nearly in the thousands, right? And they pretty much do the exact same things. With some careful programming by the producers and the engineers, now you can pretty much have a track sounding like as though it's been mixed and mastered and cleaned up by an award-winning engineer. It only takes time and patience. Actually, you know what, I think that it doesn't even take time and patience anymore, because AI technology has gotten so good that they can analyze a track, clean it up, mix and master it, all within a matter of minutes. Boom, just like that. So those are just a couple of examples as to how technology has degraded some music-related jobs. Adding on top of that, the lack of any physical sales anymore, plus bad royalty distributions on online streaming services. And it's easy to see why a lot of people would say that the music industry is dying, right? But I'm here to argue that it is not dying. It is, in fact, in my opinion, evolving, and it's more exciting than ever. You see, well, this is the wrong slide. Right, there we go. Technology doesn't have to be the end-all, be-all when it comes to creating music, but a means to getting our creative ideas and expression across. No longer is anyone limited by their own limitations. And say if you're an engineer, you wanted to be a music producer, you can with the help of technology. If you're a rock guitarist and you wanted to score music for the big Hollywood films, you can with the help of technology. There's a very famous film scorer who was actually started out exactly that way. No longer is anyone unqualified for a job, and your only limitations are your own creativity. You see, music industry is not like, say for example, I don't know, the medical industry, right? If you're a neurologist, you stay in your lane. You don't go off giving a diagnosis for prostatitis, right? Today, I'm known to a lot of people as being a producer and a film scorer. But I didn't always start out that way. In fact, guys, to be honest, I had no idea how to score for film the very first time I was asked to do my first job. So, how and why did I get the job? Well, I did what everybody does in my industry when they're asked to do something, which is just say yes, and then figure out the rest later. But it's because of that that I knew that I had to up my game, right? Couldn't afford a real orchestra, it's too expensive. So I did the next best thing. I found myself a reasonably priced orchestra software, and using that and only that, and my computer, I got the job done. Now, granted, it wasn't perfect, and every time I listen to my old stuff, I really tend to cringe, you know what I mean? But it got me to a place where I needed to be, a place where I can further develop my own career and improve myself as well as a musician. And it's not just the music creation industry that's benefiting from all this tech, but the music education industry as well. From online Zoom classes to classrooms in colleges and high schools, students and teachers have newer softwares to facilitate in notation, writing charts, creating backing tracks for students to be practicing on. Plus, if we look at it statistically, we can see a rise in music tech education as well. It's only because of how affordable and accessible music technology has made it for all these students. And let's not forget, who's behind all this tech anyway? Doctors, lawyers? No. Musicians, engineers. Because before we can even start making technology in music applications, we have to first understand music, right? So all this tech to be used pretty much anywhere, from the studio or more likely these days, the comfort of your own home. Okay, comfort. If there is one thing I know about creative people is that when they really get into the zone, they don't even know what the difference between night and day is, right? The concept doesn't even apply to them sometimes. I have lost so much sleep guys sitting in front of my computer that I sometimes forget to even shower sometimes, you know what I mean? Some of my friends always ask me, hey Daniel, why is the dark circle so bad? Well, this is why not. I remember when I was producing my first album for myself as an artist, let's just say that it was a big mess of different R&B styles of jazz, R&B, electronic, and EDM. And the reason why it was such a big mess is because, well, to be honest, I love way too many styles. And I'm sure a lot of people here do too as well. It's actually why I became a producer as opposed to becoming an artist, so that this way, I get to produce multiple styles for multiple clients, right? And if there's one thing I learned from this album production is that no matter how much time and effort you do putting into your first ever project, it's never going to be perfect. And it's not supposed to be, after all. It is a learning experience that you'll take. So, I just released it online without any much care in the world. I found myself a distribution site. And I keyed in whatever tags and genres I thought suited the album at the time. I wasn't expecting much in terms of returns or traction because, well, honestly, why should I? I spent like next to nothing producing it or marketing it. But to my surprise, it started getting traction in places I never thought it ever would. All of a sudden, people in South Africa were commenting that they were liking my music. People in New York were telling me that they're putting my music on playlists. I started getting checks in the mail for that music as well. Okay, it wasn't a lot, but I spent next to nothing doing it, only my time. All because I uploaded it to a website and whoever was searching for these tags at the time found my music. You see, that's the industry of today, ladies and gentlemen. An industry where there are no longer any barriers or middlemen between you and your fans. We live in a time when NFTs are on the rise. Now, okay, your guess is as good as mine as to where all this Web3 blockchain technology will go because it is still evolving. But all I know is that for the first time ever, artists are getting paid in full and more via NFT, direct from fans. It's become a new way to promote yourself as an artist with the promise of more things to come as well. Now, for the first time ever, big companies don't hold the data on your fans and audience, and you, the artist, get to determine and dictate how you want to interact and engage with your audience. We live in a time where music and video games is becoming a huge industry, huge. From big names, celebrity names, performing concerts in-game itself. Games like Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox, just to name a few. The metaverse is becoming a huge, relevant part of our day-to-day lives. And the music industry has a massive part to play in the development of that. Now, okay, I'm not going to pretend I have the answers to every artist's instant success, because let's face it, if I did, I'd probably have the #1 best-selling book on Amazon. But what I do know is that there are a few things that we can do as a country to help set ourselves up for potential success, right? We can be more lenient when it comes to content restrictions. And this goes for the movie industry as well, by the way, not just the music industry. We can have more freedom when it comes to artistic expression. We can look at our immigration rules to allow more foreign talent to come to Malaysia, help develop our industry, collaborate with us, and potentially expose us to a wider market. And of course, more support for music festivals and music events. Malaysia had some of the biggest music festivals back in the day, from global rave events to Formula One events. All across the world, people were coming right here to our country just for these experiences. And it really helped that our artists were headlining them, sharing the stage with some of the biggest names in the world. Before we start looking at how we can make an impact in a very global and big way, we have to start by looking right here, developing the support right here. And of course, if you yourself are an artist, promotion, self-branding, social media, very, very important. Go out there, take new chances, try new things. I'm a perfect example right now. I'm here sharing the stage with some amazing speakers, talking to you guys in my first ever TED Talk. There are already so many Malaysians out there achieving so many great things in a big way. It only goes to show that we have the capabilities to do it. So, is the music industry dying? Well, in my humble opinion, no. It is evolving, and it will forever be evolving. And the real successful people are kind of like, the pioneers, right? Traversing the frontiers of the ever-changing landscape, being able to adapt and go with the flow of change, developing new skills and constantly self-improving. That's the real skill worth having. That's what's worth developing. Thank you.